I can edit it. I mean, like...
It's going.
Okay. Boys and girls, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to solder copper pipe. We're going to take a piece of pipe and we're going to put a fitting on it, right, like this. Right here, this is a fitting, this is copper pipe. Now this fitting would be, for example, well, it brings water into your house. Have you ever gone into your basement and looked up, like your lower level, looked up at, but maybe it's an unfinished ceiling?
Yeah.
You can see these running through the floorboards above. It's copper pipe. Yeah, it'd be like this. But these are not water pipes. These are conduits with like the wire in them. But this is going to bring water into your house for like your water heater, your washer, your sinks, your stools, your showers. And if this would come into the house, for example, and we have this fitting, we're going to solder on the end, so it goes this way, maybe run it over here to the laundry room, take another piece of copper, run it over here to the water heater. This fitting has to be soldered watertight so water doesn't spray out, because this will be pressurized. Like when you turn water on a sink, it pours out. There's pressure on coming out. So we can't have this leaking. Now what I'm going to do is show you how to solder copper pipe. I'm going to give you each one of these, a piece of pipe, and a T-fitting like this. And you're going to solder together like this. Practice. You'll like this. It will be fun. Again, we're going to be using a torch. Watch this carefully. There's a torch. There's gas on that. That one good? Here's a striker. And that's like real fire. Okay, that's extremely hot. The gas that we're using is propane gas. It's what you have on your gas grills at home. You have a gas grill at home? Yeah. Some of my sons, they like to do the charcoal grilling. They make fun of me because I use the gas grill. It's not like real, but I like gas grilling. Some of you have a gas stove at home. This is the gas you're going to use. It's natural gas, and so natural gas, when it comes off out of an oil field, it's the gas that rises off the oil underground, like in an oil field, like in Oklahoma or something, and they take that natural gas off the surface and they package it, but doesn't have a smell. So to package it, so it's very dangerous, it can explode, they put a smell in it. You can smell the smell. Can the video camera smell this?
Oh yeah, it's like my house when we accidentally turned the gas on without the fire coming on.
Exactly, and exactly. She knew they turned the gas on because you could smell it. And the reason they put that smell in there is because if you have a room full of this gas and someone lights a cigarette, boom, or someone turns a light switch on, there's a little spark, boom, there's an explosion. And so you have to keep an eye on this. That's where we're going to have the door open, have some fans running, because kids will be over here turning this on. I can't get it, it won't work. And then we don't want to fill the room up with gas. So anyway, that's why the smell is there. If you're ever in a restaurant or in your house and you smell that smell, you need to take action, like get out, figure out where it's coming from, call someone to come and look at it, because that's why that smells like that. Okay, now to get prepared for this, we're going to take some solder. Here's some solder. You can see the solder, a roll of solder here. See how much thicker that is than the solder we use on the electronic kits with the solder iron? Those little solder irons would not melt this solder. We're going to need the heat from a torch. But what you're going to do, you're going to heat this pipe up, and then you're going to just trace this, right like here, right there in that corner, and it's going to melt, and not just melt on the outside. We're going to put something in here, some flux. It's going to help cause a vacuum, cause it to suck in here. Actually, this whole area here, this whole area in here on the inside of this joint will be full of solder, and actually you can even see it coming, the silver coming out on this side if you do it right. So here's what we do. Solder will stick to copper, but just like we had the copper wire with the enamel on it for those motors, we had to sand the enamel off. Why? Because the enamel's coating the copper wire. This copper pipe is not coated with enamel, but you can see there's stuff on it. Well, just watch. It's got grease, it's got grime, it's got dirt. It's going to have, after you heat it up, it's going to have like soot and stuff on it. It's been laying around in like at Menards on the shelf for a while. It's been on the back of trucks being hauled. It's been laying here in the shop. So there's junk on it right here. So if you look right here, you can see the difference. See how I cleaned up? Just like you sanded the enamel off the wire for the little DC motors, I'm not sanding enamel off, I'm cleaning it. In 6th grade, we sanded with sandpaper to make the wood smooth. We're sanding with this sandpaper. It's called emery cloth. It's got a cloth back to it. We're sanding with this not to make the copper smooth. We're sanding to do what to it?
To get rid of the grime.
Clean it up. Get rid of the dirt and the grime. And also, since I'm going to be putting copper on copper here, I want to make sure the inside of this, because it's going to be your best joint when you're soldering copper, not soldering grease and dirt and grime. So I'm cleaning this up. All right, so that looks good. I've got copper on copper, and the solder's going to go in there. The next thing we need to do is put some what is called flux. It comes in these little containers like this. It looks like grease, looks like lip gloss. Don't do it. Someone put it on their lips one time, their lips started burning. So do not put this, it's not something you're supposed to put on your skin or in your eyes or try to digest or something. You just put this on here like this. It's like grease. But what it's going to do, it's going to evaporate, it's going to disappear and form a vacuum when it gets hot, it gets heated up, and it's going to, the vacuum, like a vacuum cleaner, sucks up the dirt. And if there's a vacuum that's always trying to suck something into it, there's going to be a vacuum in it. It's going to suck the solder into here, making it a nice tight joint. So you see the flux that's coming out of there? There's the sanded copper. There's the flux on both ends. We put that in there. And now it's prepared. I'm going to set this over here in this vise. And I'm going to tighten the vise so it's snug, but that vise could crush the pipe. This is a little game you used to play as a kid. You put the circle block in the circle hole, the square block when you're like 3.
I still do that.
Oh, okay.
My brother.
Yeah, I do with my grandkids. This is a circle, and it's going to fit in the circle like this. But if I crush this pipe in the vise, it becomes an
square.
Oval.
A non-oval.
A rectangle.
An awkward oval thing.
A circle.
An oval. My gosh. What grade are you guys in? An oval. A rectangle. What? Okay. If I crush this in a vise, it's going to make the circle an oval. A weird oval thing. Okay, I'll accept weird oval thingy as an answer. I'm not going to accept square. It's not going to make it a square. All right. But anyway, it won't fit the little circle hole thing. Okay, so make sure that you don't want to crush that. So I want this in here, but again, I can make that tighter and crush that pipe. I don't want to. Now I'm going to take this. I'm going to light this. I'm going to heat it from the bottom up. The flame's going to go from the bottom up. You can bring that camera around here so you can see this right here. Because heat rises, you want to heat it from the bottom up. It will work like this, blowing the heat down, but it's going to take a lot longer. This right here is going to be your most effective way of doing it, heating it from the bottom up. But before I begin heating this up, I want to make sure my solder is laying right here. I got my piece of solder right here. Because if I heat this up, and then I set it down, then I got to walk around the shop and find my solder. By the time I get back, what's the problem? It's cooled down, it's not going to work. The other thing you need to have is a bucket of water, so that this, once you're done, you can put it directly in the water, because this is going to be very hot. Not like hot like a little solder iron where you burn yourself, you get that little white mark on your skin, you got to go in there and get an ice pack. Now, this is like hospital visit, like skin graft, with the permanent T branded on your hand or the side of your leg. If you leave it here and someone walks by and they got a pair of shorts on or they bump this, they'll hurt themselves serious on this. So you never walk away from a hot pipe to look for a bucket of water. See, there's a bucket of water right here so that it's instantly ready to go in the water. So you don't walk away looking for your solder. You'll come back, it won't work. You don't walk away looking for water because you come back and you'll have a burnt kid standing here. So make sure you've got, before you begin, solder and water. And I'd like to have you have your goggles on. And here we go. I'm turning this on. You got to have a striker. You got a little flintstone on the end of this. Sometimes they get worn down. We got to flip it around. The flintstone right here will give you a little spark. You don't just scratch it across like this. Somebody's got to put pressure on it so you get a good.
This one's bad.
Yeah, and some of them are bad. They won't work. And I got to replace them. Okay, here we go. Here's the gas. It's going to be nice if you get it started quickly. I don't want just filling the room up with gas as you try to practice. So there's the gas. Here's my first attempt. Second attempt. There it is. I've got a flame. I'm done with the striker. I come right here. Come underneath here. You can see the blue and orange flame. That's hot. I mean, that's very hot. I mean, you can grill a steak on that, all right? You can grill your hand on that. But what I'm looking for a green flame. I want this to be hot enough where I can see a green flame. I'm holding it on the bottom, letting the heat rise through it. Watch, you see the color change? Yeah. Now that's a hotter flame, that's good. I'm shutting off the torch. Now I take this, I watch this very carefully right here. I touch it, and boom, it melts. And because that flux has formed a vacuum, it's sucking it in. It's not just on the outside, it's sucking it on the inside also.
Okay, so you turn the torch off and then you can touch it.
Yeah, you got enough time to shut it off. It's going to stay hot. But don't touch it. That's still very, very hot. If you're going to take this right here, I'd like to have you have a glove on, but that's not thick enough. So I want you to take a rag also to grab it. Don't just grab it with a rag because there's little holes in it or your thumb might slip out. Make sure your whole hand's protected. Use a rag and grab it like this. Take it out and then watch right here. Did you hear that little scream?
Yeah. Will it
Now,
still be hot?
no, it's cool. It's right here. It's It's instantly cool. Touch it. Okay, you see that? That's instantly, it diffuses the heat, diffuses all the heat that's in this copper. It hits that, it goes through the water. All the molecules are getting a little bit hotter because you'll study that in science if you haven't already. And you have, so you understand, that's what we just did. We just did that. Now, what I'd like to have you do right here with this is you're going to take a cutter. And this is a cutter. You've got a little wheel right here, a little scribe. It's like a pizza cutter. Then you've got 2 wheels right down here on the bottom. You're going to set this on this. Are you watching this? I'm going to just do a little demonstration here on this. Right there. It sits on the 2 wheels.